Hey, welcome to Spirit Soul Sense, information for your soul. I'm Shareece, and I don't even really follow Meagan Good or DeVon Franklin. I remember when they did their relationship campaign and book and decided that they wanted to tell everybody that they wasn't having sex before they got married. You know, when people say they don't have sex before they get married and they've been dating for less than a year, I'm like, I don't know what you think you did, but you're not really doing much if you got married so quickly, right? Like, y'all got married. Anyway, so I didn't read their book, right? Because I am questionable about people who do relationship campaigns like that and decide on what it is that they're sharing or not sharing, right? Because I feel like, okay, if you want to be transparent all the way. But then we have situations like Jada Pinkett and Will Smith, and it's like, y'all sharing too much. We don't care. We don't need to know this. There are some things that should only be left for marriage. And maybe that's why I didn't like them and how they discussed their celibacy. I don't know. It just seemed like they were setting themselves up for failure in letting too many people inside of their relationship. I also say I don't think relationships have to last forever. And if they do end, I would hope they end in a loving way, like what it appears to be happening, right? And relationships are for the evolution of your soul, and it seems as if these two are more evolved people at the end. Maybe, because I saw someone posted that he posted a crying picture on social media. I think crying pictures are always questionable. Like, you took the picture, you looked at it, and then you said, let me post this. And then you post it. What do we do when we post things? You post it, and then you wait to see how many people like it. You wait to see what they say about it, because you're not living in a vacuum. We're social creatures. You're doing this so the jury is out on whether, they have grown. It's been 9-10 years of them being together. I felt a lot of ways about their marriage ending, and I think because I wanted them to prove us wrong. I wanted them to last. I wanted my hypotheses, my projections about their relationship that has nothing to do with me to be untrue. I wanted them to last because I thought they wouldn't last, right? So I was like, man, it's y'all against the world. You can do this, even though I don't think you can, but maybe you can do this. And as they ended, it made me go back and think about, what was, before I had a YouTube channel, right? Maybe think, what was it that I was thinking when I saw them together that sent off a lot of red flags for me about their relationship?
One day after. So the fact that we started dating, and it was clear to me, over the course of a couple of days that God was bringing us together, it was really like, okay, I had to let go of my list. I think that's one of the things that I think so many people marry the list, or they worship the list. And so I want, my significant other to be this, and this, and I don't want that, and that. Well, God's not subject to our list. So we can either get love, or we can get a list, and sometimes that list blocks love. So I had to really sacrifice my list to accept her for who she is and who God created her to be, and not, let my list be the thing that I was worshiping instead of worshiping him.
What was on your list that wasn't manifested in Meagan?
Oh, Jesus.
I'm just really curious about that.
Oh, man. Oh, okay. Actress, drinking, that was one of my lists, right? And then also, at the time, she smoked cigarettes. And so I was like, I ain't marrying nobody that smokes.
Wow.
Yeah, not gonna do it.
Yeah.
So there were some real things on my list that I had to, so when I talk about this, I'm not just saying, oh, it sounds good. I'm like, no, for real. Like, these were things that I was passionate about, but I was more passionate about doing God's will. And so I was like, all right, Lord, okay, I know you're in it. So I'm just going to sacrifice these, my commitment to these ideals, and accept her and love her and work on, myself. Right. Because a lot of times what happens, especially in relationships, it's not, so we can do this, I don't want that person to be da-da-da-da-da. Well, it's really about you, me, us, right? Like, it's not about, it wasn't that it was her smoking or anything. It's my reaction to it. So I had to say, okay, you know what, Lord, if you're bringing us together, you have a reason behind all this. So let me work on that and lean into that and not lean away. So those are some of the things that were on my list.
They did so many videos together talking about their relationship. And so anyone with the time or interest can go and look at all the things they did together and all of the red flags of things that they said and how they said it that made you really question what's the what. So one of the title of this is Ditch the List, Not Your Values. As a pastor has certain values that the church has for him, that his congregation has for him, aside from the ones that he has for himself. And so I know why, but the question to ask is, why is celibacy put on a platform of all the goodness, and I definitely have to, avoid sexual sin? Why is that put, on a platform pedestal? But dressing discreetly is not, because the messaging is the same. Honestly, I know the church emphasizes sexual sin. I know that, but devout Christians can go through the Bible, look at the 10 Commandments, look at what's happening in the New Testament, and decide this is a lifestyle. This is the way I live my life. And it's not just about sex. It's about a whole package. And so then why would a pastor pick a package of a woman who is so anti all of the things, all of the not all, right? Because I'm sure she's a good person, but it's so anti the values. Why would you pick someone who prefers to be half dressed? Why would you pick someone who does those things? I think a good value, right? Because I didn't have a list per se when dating. Things like saying he has to be 6'2", or he has to have this kind of job, or he has to have abs. Things like that, I think, can be ditched from the list, right? Or what kind of things would be on the list? For one of the things DeVon said, right, in the clip was she couldn't be a smoker, right? I'm not sure putting cannot be a smoker is a helpful thing on a list, but the value behind that is I want someone who's healthy. I think that's an excellent value to have. I want to partner with someone who's fairly healthy. So then, would you partner with somebody who smokes cigarettes? Because cigarette smoking is one of the unhealthiest things. I think the causes of death, heart disease, all that stuff, cigarette smokers first, and then obesity. So if you're looking for someone who's really healthy, if that's a value you have, you're not going to partner with somebody who smokes cigarettes. So it was just so clear. Another value thing. A lot of people who grew up in the church, a lot of people are Christian, the Bible talks about be fruitful and multiply, all these things. The Pope came out recently about couples who are not having kids, which I think is so interesting, because I'm also thinking about not having any more kids. But, couples who are married, who have a couple dogs, but don't want to raise children. And I think people should be allowed to do what they want. There's 7 billion something people on the planet. Do I need to make another one? Do I really need to make another one? I don't think so. So I think people should be able to live their lives. But in people living their lives, a pastor of a church who also follows Christian values, one of his values is probably have children. Right? And he's like 40 something now. Have children. If he was thinking about children, maybe he would have been thinking about it at 35. And then when they met, 29, 31, whatever it was, perfect time to have children. But why didn't they have any children? And so in interviews, because I tell you, they talk about their relationship so much, which is why I'm talking about it. Because if y'all don't talk about it so much, I'm going to talk about it. I don't like talking about celebrities, but I'm going to talk about it because it felt so emotional. Like them breaking up felt like an emotional thing for me. Like, wow, didn't expect that. Kind of did, but was hoping it didn't happen. And so listening to her talk about, maybe I want kids, maybe I don't want kids. Anytime somebody's like, maybe I might, they don't want kids, in my opinion. In my opinion, if people are like on the fence about kids, how are you on the fence about kids? Like either you really want kids or you're in the camp of other. And if you're not really wanting kids, to me, that's a red flag that you don't want kids. And that's a thing that breaks up a lot of people, because the desire to have a child, I think, is so biological, it's so innate, evolutionary, that it's hard then to stay partnered with someone who doesn't want to have kids. At some point, the person who wants to have kids will find a way. And if that means leaving the relationship, then that's what they'll do. But she's talked about changing her mind and freezing her eggs and all this stuff. And I just keep wanting to remind women in general, your biological clock, your body has not caught up with society and what they say women should be doing. Your biological clock says your 20s are the best time to have children. That's what your biological clock says. It says after 35, you are high risk pregnancying it. And I don't like when people are like, there's nothing wrong. Wait until after you're 35 to have kids. There's nothing wrong. What are you talking about? Women die in childbirth. Babies die. So many people have all these miscarriages. Like you watching Beyonce have twins, but you have no idea what it took for her to get there. The fact that she even had twins when twins don't run in her family tells me maybe IVF. And then the way people throw around IVF, well, you could just have IVF. Do you understand how expensive it is? How stressful it is on the mind and the body? How it's not a pleasant experience. You're not going on vacation to get IVF. So I say all that to say, right? If you want kids, you should probably have them before 30. I mean, if you're past 30, you could still have them. You could do whatever you want. You could have them at 40. There's 45-year-olds having babies, but you don't know what they are going through to get there, and you don't know how this child is turning out. I'm a child psychologist, right? I specialize with the children's, okay? And you don't know how many older parents I've seen with special needs kids. Do you want a special... Argue with biology, not me, okay? I'm sorry, like this is the way our bodies are, but it's just a fact that I think it's very important to consider. So if your value is, I want to have kids, you should partner with someone who wants to have kids. If your value is, I prefer someone who is, I was going to say not for the streets. Not that Meagan Good is for the streets, but if you look at her history of dating and the kind of men that she dated, and I know she did some work on herself and stopped dating before she ended up with DeVon, but how much of that, because she describes herself as a hippie, free floating kind of thing. And I kind of describe myself like that too. But then I'm going to partner with somebody who's like that, right? Somebody who, has the wanderlust, somebody who likes to travel, who likes to go places, who's not sure they want to set all their roots down here, who has options, right? That's the kind of person I would pick because it's important that we share values. I wouldn't pick somebody who's like, I need 3 more kids in 5 years. Like, I wouldn't pick somebody like that if that's what their values are. And so, it seems so clear, I think, to a lot of Christian folks watching them, that their values weren't aligned, that they weren't exactly going in the same direction of life. But I do think that their union really inspired a lot of people and helped people, which I think is a beautiful thing, especially, when souls partner and they create something bigger than themselves, right? Their book is going to live on forever. Their book is going to be helpful to people. I think celibacy is a great tool for getting closer to God. So I don't have anything against celibacy. I definitely think talking too much in too much detail about your relationship is one of the ways that your relationship implodes from the inside, right? Because nothing outside can really harm your relationship. But if you invite people into your relationship and all these details that we don't need to know, right? We don't need to know. I think some harm can be done. And how exhausting must it be for DeVon to always having to defend his wife? What kind of position does that put him in as a man emotionally to always having to be coming to the defense of his wife? What she's dressing in, what she's acting in, how she's behaving as a human being. How is it to always be being told, y'all are not a good match, y'all are not a good match, y'all are not a good match? And having to, instead of enjoy the marriage, having to be feel all these negative things, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if DeVon is remarried soon and has a kid on the way. I wouldn't be surprised because it seems to me that children is probably an important thing to him. Meagan Good probably is going to be single for a while and she probably won't have any kids. I mean, maybe at 50, if she's freezing her eggs, there's definitely a chance And she works that and stuff, there's definitely that chance I think she could carry a pregnancy to term. But does she want kids? I mean, if you reach 40 something and you haven't had kids, and you've actively been thinking about whether or not you want kids, and you have a husband who, probably wants kids, and you're still like, I don't know, I'm thinking you're probably not gonna have any kids. I mean, and that's fine, like, it's fine. But then maybe these two people shouldn't be partnered. That's all I'm saying. But their union brought something beautiful to the world. Their separation seems to be amicable, not nasty like some other people that we're seeing online who get divorced. And so I think that's a good example. That's a way to help people. I mean, we'll see what happens. But I was definitely invested in this in a kind of way. I wish them the best. Real people having real emotions, doing real things. And hopefully they find peace, because breakups are painful. Divorces are very painful. They can be like a death for some people. And so hopefully they grieve, mourn, let the relationship go in peace, and go on to do more beautiful things. Let me know what you think in the comments. Remember to like, share this video with somebody you think it can help, subscribe to my channel, and thank you for watching.